Hi guys, here with my May TBR. I've got a few books left over from April that I haven't finished reading, so I'm really wanting to get to those, and hopefully the bout of books 10 will give me the opportunity to finish them off. I'm about halfway through Mr. Perfect by Linda Howard. I started listening to this on my iPod, but for some reason part 2 didn't download properly, so I had to pick up a copy from my library. But I'm really enjoying this. It's making me laugh so hard. I think I'm up to the point where it's sort of moving from more of a romance into a bit more suspense. The first girl has been murdered, so yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out more about that. I also have, I still can't believe I haven't read it yet, Anne of Green Gables by Montgomery. I was so excited to do this reread last month, and I just ended up putting it off and putting it off. So I thought, bout of books, this is it, gonna finish it. Last month I also had part of one of my books for the YA book bingo. It was a book set in the future. I was supposed to read The 100 by Kass Morgan. I didn't get around to it. I have started it, maybe I'm like 10 pages into it. And this month's YA pick, one of them was the last book in a trilogy. I was planning on reading Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins for that, but I read it in the last readathon that happened at the end of April, so I'm going to swap those books around and I'm going to read this as my YA book. I'm also supposed to read a graphic novel as well. I have a few ideas about what I'm going to read, but I guess I'll just see how I go and what I feel like reading during the week of Bout of Books for those. Before Bout of Books though is the Yearathon, and this month is finishing up a series, and I have Always on My Mind and Once in a Lifetime by Jill Shalvis. Both of those are 8 and 9 in the Lucky Harbour series, which I just love. Each book has its own little trilogy with the characters that are central to those particular storylines, but then she also weaves through a regular cast of characters that live in the town, and it's interesting to sort of catch up and see what they're doing. They often will be quite funny little characters, quite quirky, so I enjoy seeing what they're doing. Next up is a book that's at the bottom of my TBR pile. So this is my adult book bingo. This isn't necessarily at the very bottom, but I've had this since 2010 and I still haven't read it. It's Goodnight, Tweetheart by Teresa, Medieros. This is a book, as the little tagline says, a love story in 140 characters or less. A lot of this story takes place on Twitter, and that's sort of why I bought the book. I thought it would be a fun read, and then I just never ended up picking it up. So hopefully Bout of Books, I will be able to get it read. Next up is a book that is more than 10 years old, and that is the first book in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, The Gunslinger. I've heard nothing but good things about this book, or this whole series really. I bought this in early 2013, I want to say, possibly even earlier than that. So like I said, I'm sick of having books that I've bought and then I don't read. I know a lot of my problem is the fact that I just keep on buying books. I have a rather large haul for April. I guess I sort of need to put myself on a book buying ban, but I just can't do it. There's so many I need. There's so many books I need. My 1001 adult pick is Vernon Got Little by D.B.C. Pierre. I don't really know much about this at all. It's sort of, I think, it's about a teenager, what he goes through, and that's about all I know. But it's a Man Booker winner, so apparently they're the experts. You know, how could it be wrong? I also have my 1001 children's book, which is Monster Blood Tattoo. It's the first book in that series, The Foundling. I'm listening to that at the moment, but I think I'm going to have to pick up the book as well. What I've read so far, I am loving. The author is doing some very fantastic world building at the moment, but a lot of things are just their regular day-to-day words have been given a new name, so sometimes I think that can be a little bit hard to follow. And I know that there is a glossary in the back of the print book, so I'm definitely going to be picking that up from work. Next up, I just thought with the bout of books, it's always good to have some short stories just to break up the bigger novels. So I thought I had Let It Snow, which is 3 short stories by John Green, Maureen Johnson and Lauren Myracle. I had this to read for the Christmas booktubeathon, and I didn't sort of get around to reading it, so I thought this would be perfect now just to break things up a little bit. I was reading today the Booksplosion book of the month for May is Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. So this is another book that I'm going to be listening to. I thought that's good because when I'm sort of travelling to and from work, and if I have any other things where I can't actually be sitting down to read, I will be able to listen to this, and I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm going to get to you soon. And next up, it's in another video, and that is Half Bad by Sally Green. I've been dying to read this and I still haven't managed to get around to it yet. So, bad of books, I'm going to read this. Definitely. Next up is just a random book that a customer brought back. It is called Under a Graveyard Sky by John Ringo. I've never read anything by him. I know he does, I think, a lot of science fiction fantasy. This is a story about a airborne zombie virus which is released. The family that's in this story, their zombie plan Charlie, I think they call it, is to buy a sailboat, and so I guess, yeah, that's just them trying to survive on the high seas. Next up is Winger by Andrew Smith, and basically Dylan from Dylan Books read this for the Dewey's 24-hour readathon. I bought this back in March and I have been wanting to read it, but he was just so enthusiastic. His review was fantastic, and I'll pop a link for that down below, but I'm really looking forward to reading this. So that is my rather large pile of books for my May TBR. I have no idea whether I'm going to get through this in the month of May. If it's anything like April, I'll get sidetracked by a whole heap of other books. But hopefully, Bout of Books, the yearathon, I'll be able to get my shit together and I'll be able to read. Let's do this. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!